Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Healthcare India, and today we'll be talking to the very amazing Mr. Neel Mehta. Mr. Neel Mehta is one of the most sought after healthcare futurists of the country and is currently leading health tech projects and futuristic stealth projects across the Adani group. He's also a leader, entrepreneur, a strategic thinker, and so much more. Throughout his journey, throughout his life, he has dealt with a lot of different technologies and how they are revolutionizing healthcare. And today we'll be initiating an amazing dialogue with him about the same. So do not forget to watch this episode till the end.
Good afternoon, sir, and thank you so much for joining us today. For the viewers who are watching, we are so grateful to Neel sir for agreeing to be with us on healthcare conversations. And on healthcare conversations, we try to bring out the best people working in the industry and to learn a little more about what the future of healthcare holds for us. And today we have amongst us one of the most dynamic personalities of the industry, Mr. Neel Mehta. And we're so glad that we could have you over here with us today, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the humble introduction. Pleasure to be on the call.
Amazing. So, first of all, like the first and like the most important question, sir, how has the pandemic been for you? Like, it's been
I would say
almost a
one word.
year, and we've all been working.
Yeah, it's been crazy. The pandemic. I am currently a part of a conglomerate, the Adani group, and suddenly the pandemic hit us last year. And with the business continuity process, we had to transform all the workspaces into a work from home setting. So not only adopting to the culture change, but at the same time, making sure that we are getting the throughput from the employees for the business productivity and the business outcome. That was one thing. And on the top of it, like in the healthcare setting, ensuring the well-being of our employees across pan India. The employees were either going through COVID or their family members were having COVID. They were getting hospitalized. Liaisoning with different hospitals all the way from Apollo groups to Fortis Healthcare and to name a few, and all the way to like local hospitals in each city, and ensuring that our employees get the bed at the nth hour. So collaborating, coordinating, and making sure that we take priorities of our employees' health. So that was a role played by just like 10 of us, a small but a mighty team here at the group, and making sure that we took care of more than 12,000 employees over the past 1 year.
That's absolutely incredible. So you've been working in this industry for a very long time. And during this pandemic, we saw that there was a huge boost in, telehealth facilities. And, just like we suddenly saw a glimpse into the future of healthcare very soon, I guess. So what will you comment on, the developments that have been taking place in, achieving that future a little bit sooner, and how has pandemic, affected the pace of it?
Sure, that's a great question. And I would say that, in every company, there is something called a digital transformation officer. It's like a new position given to a lot of individuals who brings about a very transformative change in a positive end. And I would say COVID-19 has been a best digital transformation officer. If you look at on the brighter side, the companies who always derailed from adopting to tech-enabled, development or innovation, suddenly took the charge of it. So, here at the group, at the Adani group, every consultation with our employees was like either face-to-face or on a traditional, a Teams call or a Zoom call with our doctors and the patient. Suddenly, when the pandemic hit and all the employees started leaving from the center to back to their hometowns and back to the cities where they belong to, we implemented a telemedicine platform within 2 months, and then training all the doctors, training nurses, and creating that adoption curve in a way where there is proper training imparted, proper IT infra was getting established, while ensuring that now it is getting used on a daily basis. So long story short, since the deployment till now, we have done over 3,000 plus consultations, and what has happened is rather than a traditional paper based medical
Mm.
records or the reports, now everything is getting digitized. We use OCR to
Cool.
ensure that the data is we are able to extract the data and put it in a proper database, so that we can do more on the sides of like data mining, data analytics, to really understand
Mm.
the employee's health, and then not only just the employee's health but the group's health as well. What type of
Mm.
employees are coming into the organization, how we are making this organization more health conscious, which
Mm.
departments where we have to focus more on creating education and awareness. On the top of
Mm.
traditional medical settings, we incorporated yoga, physiotherapy, as well as a diet, that is a nutritionist also came on board. And then they started taking consultations, completely virtually during this pandemic times. And we have seen a very sharp increase where now employees are taking, one more step, an added step on taking ownership of their health. We do all this consultation either before office
Yeah.
hours or after office hours, so that it is in alignment. And so now employees are spending 1 more hour, in the evening, or like they are joining virtual consultations early in the morning, as early as like even 6 a.m. And we have seen a rapid increase in terms of, participation in yoga, participation in like physiotherapy, people taking care of like what type of calories they are eating. And it is really interesting where, when we go to cafeteria and like you have two different options. One is more health conscious, salads or fruits,
Yeah.
and then on the other side it's like all fried, just the
Mm.
snacks and all of it, like samosa. And now employees are slowly shifting towards more on the calorie conscious, health conscious side. So that is on the
Mm.
lifestyle. On the top of it, with digitization, there was no other option. That was the only option. So due to
Mm.
COVID, all the processes started becoming more structured, systematized, and more organized,
Mm.
which we are able to reap fruits now.
Absolutely. That was a really great insight on how you guys have also been working towards the same. And related to that, while we got in contact with you, I was looking at a video of yours, a talk that you gave at a TEDx speech, and you said that in the coming generation, we won't see a single 1,000 crore idea changing the healthcare space. We will be seeing 1,000 different ideas which generate a chance to get into that economy. So I really felt that because our journey since last year has, as you also mentioned, that there are so many startups that are working towards the same goal in contributing to a better healthcare, better patient outcomes, or just for the more like as people are getting a little more health conscious and they
Yeah.
are making a little more health conscious decisions. So a lot of startups are working towards that, and we've seen like the ideas are increasing. The number of ideas which are getting funded is also increasing. So, you gave a whole talk over there. I just want you to, give a little more insights about the same over here as well.
Sure. So thank you for, checking me out online. I gave this TEDx speech back in September 2019. And that was like my
Yeah.
first time delivering a speech here in India after living abroad for quite some time. And, what I've realized is, days are gone when you want to do each and everything. You cannot be the Amazons of the world from the day one. They also started in a very, very specific niche
Yeah.
focus. That was like they were just selling books online. That's it. Jeff Bezos did that for like 20 plus years before diversifying and expanding. That I'm talking about one of the successful US based companies. Even if you talk about in India, for example, even if we take, the group in which I'm a part of, Adani. So they did
Mm-hmm.
about ports. They privatized,
Mm.
worked with the government to work on the transportation logistics and import and export. And they worked at one of the ports here in Gujarat, for 15 plus years. Just making sure that they are
Mm.
able to get the ship in and ship out as fast as possible. And as again, automating most of the processes, standardizing the processes, and making sure that you increase efficiency and throughput. So by doing that over a couple of years, they perfected the approach. And using those learnings, using those principles, now they started adding more and more business verticals under the umbrella. So same thing goes for the startups.
True.
I hear, not during my, the job, but, during the weekends or like during the weekday evenings, I do consult with some of the startups out in Bangalore, Hyderabad, or like in Delhi, even in Ahmedabad, a couple of them focusing on healthcare. And the passion, the energy of these founders is amazing. And I was in their
Mm.
shoes, not a long ago. So I've gone through that same
Yeah.
experience. And sometimes what I feel is like, with that enthusiasm, fire, and zeal, and the passion, you want to do each and everything. I want to completely disrupt the healthcare,
Yeah.
and that doesn't happen. You really have to identify
Mm.
not like a 1,000 crore idea. What I mean by 1,000 crore idea is you cannot be the mammoth from day one. You have to
Mm.
find your own unique niche. What will be your value offering, how you are going to either increase the efficiency, improve the outcome, or create a kind of a connected ecosystem within that small group, so that now you are able to drive improved healthcare outcomes for the patient,
Mm.
or for your stakeholders. It can be either insurance company, pharmaceutical companies, doctors, hospital, but you have to target that. And then you have to like align your team, align the people who are working on this, either a product, platform, or a service, to achieve that aspect in the shortest
Mm.
time frame possible. Because guess what? If you think about something, 100% there is someone out on the other side of the world thinking
Also
about the
thinking about
same
the
thing.
same.
Yeah, because there are
True.
7.3 billion people, right?
Mm.
And we all face almost the same problems. It's not like that the problem which I'm facing you might not be experiencing, especially when we
Mm.
talk about healthcare. It can be different in like financial industries, based on your portfolio, based on your wealth, based on the network which you have. But
Mm.
in healthcare, it's a
True.
very simple. If I got sick, I have to see a doctor. That's it. Whether you are a millionaire,
Mm.
whether you are a billionaire, or whether you are a boy on the street. So it's the same
Mm.
fundamental which is applicable. So for your idea, you have to really identify the partners from day one. Okay. And
True.
get outside the building. What I mean by that is there is no point on like working out of a co-working space, or working at a nice fancy building and trying to do something like coding on your laptop. Those are all the things which you can do once there are people who have shown interest to pay for the problem which you will solve. So that is the essential concept distilled down in the last like 3 minutes on what that TEDx idea was, and to inspire students, to inspire people that no idea is small. Look at
Mm.
now startups. For example, I'll talk about a recent acquisition which came by, definitely a surprise to the community, that Farm Easy, just a digital player of like doing
Yeah.
farm, selling medications online. They do not produce a medication. They do not license the medication. They simply purchase in wholesale and then distribute with
And
each
so.
customer.
Mm.
Yeah, to the end customer, using the underlying principles of delivery at the doorstep. And guess what? They
Mm.
bought a mammoth thyrocare, which was conducting tests all across pan India, and the blood tests, the samples used to come all the way from Assam to Mumbai, all the way from Kerala to Mumbai, and they perfected the logistics. So it was a match made in
Mm.
heaven. So it doesn't matter whether you are a medicine supplier, distributor, as long as you
Mm.
align and you perfect and you gather the market share more than 50% in that domain, you essentially are creating a monopoly. And it is better to be monopolized
Absolutely.
than trying to fight for your own market share. Okay. So
Mm.
that's it. I can keep going, but that's the consensus.
Absolutely, absolutely. That talk. I listened to the entire talk, and I can tell it to the viewers. This was the most amazing way one could, sum up the entire talk into like 3-4 minutes. So thank you so much, sir, for that. Next question is okay. There are a lot of different trends which are being expected in the future of healthcare, like edge computing or 3D printing or artificial intelligence, which we mainly focus on. So, what according to you are the most exciting future trends that are going to be in healthcare?
Yeah, so that's a another very valid question. And before I answer
Mm.
this question, I want to kind of touch base a little bit about what you just mentioned. In terms of having a technology, you do not have to build an entire app or build an entire website.
Mm.
If you are focused on the technology based healthcare solution, you can just simply, this is a technical language, but you can create a wireframe or a mock-up. Okay, just take that or
Mm.
just put it on the napkin and say that this is something what I want to create. Go to the doctors, go to the healthcare executives. If you have a product for a corporate or for a company, come and talk to me,
Mm.
and so on. Because while you are talking, while you are sharing what you really want to do, this stakeholders will know exactly that what solution you are going to bring, how it is applicable and solving their problem. For example, if you
Mm.
build the best in the world's finest technology, AI driven, machine learning based, giving great outcomes, but if it is going to take 37 minutes, for example, at a hospital while the patient is on the bed, it's of no
Mm.
use, because the doctor have to make the decision within fraction of seconds. you know
Absolutely. Yeah.
so you
Mm.
really have to understand, okay, where your technology or where your solution is going to fit in within
Mm.
that healthcare spectrum, right from a patient calling the hospital and patient checking out, and then the continuum
Mm.
of care, which is home health care, follow-up care and all of that. So where
Absolutely.
exactly is your solution, and what time frame you are going to get for that? Okay.
Mm.
So if you come to corporate and if you say you have like built a great solution which where you will put all the employees data into one and you will do artificial intelligence and you will be able to predict whether this
Mm.
employee is going to get any cardiology, a cardiac arrest, or if the cholesterol is going to get high and it will take 2 days for you to get back to it. I'll be like, okay, fine, because I don't have emergency cases. Here we are just
Mm.
proactively taking care of our employees' health over here at the corporate. But that this solution will not work in the hospital. So again, identifying the right stakeholders. So that is another lesson for the startup and the startup enthusiasts. Now coming back to the trends which you talked about, I believe the first and the foremost, it's not about getting hyped, in terms of like some of the buzzwords, like blockchain, in healthcare, or AI in healthcare, or
Mm.
IoT. Now people are calling IOMT, Internet of Medical Things, into
Yeah.
healthcare.
Mm.
What I truly believe is that you have to pick up a trend where you are most passionate about. Okay. That let's say you are coming out of a
Mm.
background where, for example, your family had some serious healthcare issues and you think that you want to dive deeper and solve that problem so that a family like yours, like out there, will not have to go through that same problem for the years to come.
True.
Cool. That's a trend, that's a trend. There is no point of like catching into, yeah, I want to create the best AI engine, but you even don't know what AI is. Then within fraction of seconds, us as like mentors, us as like strategy consultants, will get to know that you are just trying to catch on the jargon and you are just trying to throw it
Mm.
off like to people to showcase how cool it sounds. That's
Absolutely.
not innovation. That's not like startup. you know for example, coming back to one of the really cool things which is going on right now is Zomato. If you talk about like
Yeah.
13 years ago, right, they were just listing the menus of the restaurant which were local online. If you think about it for a second, you think, okay, it's a fourth grader can also do. He or she can call the restaurant and say, can you tell me what is your menu? Can you
Yeah.
I'll come to your doorstep, take it, put a Xerox copy, type it on a Word document, and put it on a shared website. Done. It is
Mm.
as simple. There was no innovation. There
Yeah.
was no trends. They're not catching up onto something. Okay, that it is the Internet of Things, and we want to be the
Mm.
best delivery network. Nothing like that. They started with the problem what they encountered in their real life and
Mm.
got passionate about that. I want to solve it. And fast forward today, now they are
Mm.
one of the largest startup listed publicly in our stock exchange. Okay. So I would highly advise everyone to refrain from catching on that burst train, that is the
Hmm.
word which we use, rather focus
Yeah.
on the train or the thoughts which can create actual meaningful impact out in the community. And automatically
Absolutely.
that will become the trend,
Hmm.
delivering from a restaurant to your home in less than 30 minutes. That trend was started by Domino's. Okay. And now
Hmm.
every food delivery provider like Swiggy, Zomato, now Grofers is also coming into the space.
Hmm.
They are all catching that, we want to be in the trend. You be the
Yeah.
trendsetter, and then the
Hmm.
trend will follow.
Absolutely. No, yeah, actually true. The intentions and the value that you provide matters way more than the service or the product that you are just making. So if the service or the
Yeah.
product has a good intention, has a good value proposition behind it, which will solve some issues for people that we ourselves have faced before, absolutely, that was a really great answer. That was not something that I absolutely expected. So yeah, thank you so much for such a deep and insightful answer. So my next question is something
Yeah.
related to artificial intelligence. So okay, so a
Hmm.
lot of different tools are coming up. A lot of different startups are working on tools, or maybe in just providing better patient outcomes, or maybe in the health insurance sector, and a
Yeah.
lot of different things. And it's playing a huge role in the current healthcare economy, we might say. So, what will your comment be on that? Like, artificial intelligence and its, growing use in this, space.
Definitely, AI based applications have been coming in and out of the ecosystem. The most important AI tool in healthcare is a chatbot, a conversational AI.
Hmm.
That can play a very important role. A patient trying to book an appointment at a hospital, or a nurse trying to provide the information to their patients. A lot of times, if you look at any loaded hospital system, in fact, almost all the hospital systems in India are loaded and inundated by like patients calling, patients visits, and so on. So
Hmm.
a tools like AI based tools which can solve the day to day mundane task and automate that, and also provide a
Hmm.
valuable information. Now if you look at some of the diagnostics lab, I'm a part of one of the labs over here in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, where we have created a chatbot. So the moment a patient gets the result, and if they type help to
Hmm.
that, they will get the
Hmm.
options, uh, that whether they want an additional information, they want to schedule a call with the consultant, or whether they want to understand what the
Hmm.
report is about, whether they want to add something to the test being done, whether they want to schedule another test. So all these things can be automated. That's where the AI role comes into the big picture, which is the low hanging
Hmm.
fruits. Now, if you talk about some of the complex and the most challenging task, we talk about the Da Vinci robot. It's a fully automated robot,
Hmm.
AI driven, which learns how the surgeon will perform a surgery. So there is a training which takes place, and then the testing takes place on a 3D simulated
Hmm.
human body model. And then the robot will do a surgery while either the surgeon is doing a audio dictation, or like
Hmm.
pressing some of the modules which is behind the scenes, not in the surgery room. Okay. So that's where
Hmm.
also the AI comes into the play. That is very complex. If a robot will
Yeah.
like cut a vein which is critical for the person to live through, which is going to the heart,
Hmm.
the person is dead. Okay. So that is like a very edgy very serious AI tool which you can build and kind of layer it onto the form of a robotic. So that is the most
Yeah.
complex one. So now you really have to identify into this AI ecosystem whether you want to create a AI based data analytics, AI based patient health outcomes, AI
Hmm.
based conversation, AI based scheduling, or AI based surgery. But if you are
Hmm.
like, the moment someone tells me AI, I want a real AI. Okay, not just like an Excel spreadsheet where you're putting
Hmm.
some data and saying that, yeah, this is like the next AI.
Yeah.
Okay, so take
Hmm.
time to really understand the fundamental value of what AI brings to the table, and see whether it is
Hmm.
applicable, meaningful. And on the top of it, let's say if you create a AI based innovation, For example, in pharmacy, in pharmacy in
Mm,
US healthcare, the prescription is directly sent to the pharmacy, and then now there
mm,
are AI based robots which will tell real time whether the patient is like taking the meds, picking up the medication which was prescribed by the doctor, whether they are coming back. A notification will go to the patient, hey, we think that you have not been taking the medication based on the dose which was prescribed by the doctor. Please visit your hospital, please schedule a call, right?
mm,
So now
mm,
you are focused on the transaction based AI, right? So that can be something
mm,
which can be very helpful and important in India, because people take the prescriptions from the doctor, but hardly they go to the medical store to actually get the medicines what they want, or what is being actually
mm,
needed. And then on the top of it, if your AI is going to cost, like, let's say for example, $100,000, and if you approach a hospital whose revenue and annual revenue is not even $100,000, guess what, they're not going to take it,
yeah,
because they are trying to make their
true.
ends meet. So you really have to also
Mm,
identify an actual customer for your innovation which you are creating, and market it.
mm,
Not always like the greatest and the best technology will get adopted, because sometimes it is not getting into the ecosystem because of the cost factor, because of the
mm,
time factor, and also because of the understanding, how easy you can make them
mm,
understand. A doctor or a nurse doesn't need to know whether you are training on like 34 thousand different data sets, and what is your probability, sensitivity, and
mm,
specificity. You have to explain in like two lines, which a fourth grader can also understand what your tool is going to do, or what your
mm,
device or what your engine is going to do. So that's all
mm.
about AI.
Amazing, amazing. That was really great. And like the follow up question to this will be another trend, which is 3D printing. Now, 3D printing also has shown some exciting new, possibilities in the healthcare space. So, just like a follow up question, what will be your take on 3D printing?
Yeah, so on 3D printing, I'm a big believer of 3D printing, and I've been into the lab spaces, and at various hospitals out in Australia, out in US, where
Mm,
this 3D printed models are used in the simulated labs. Okay, where a medical residents, that means a doctor who is going to become a
mm,
doctor, actually a student who is
yeah,
going to become a doctor in Indian setting. And though nurses, hospitalists, or the surgeons can really use this models to experiment on some of the research ideas which they have. A
mm,
startup looking to get into the hospital ecosystem can use the simulated labs to really test their ideas before they actually go to
mm,
the patient facing. Okay, so this kind of innovations, such as like 3D modeling, 3D printing, where now you are able to create like an artificial vein also, which is now like in the research phase, which is really
mm,
cool, which can definitely save lives. And here you are not actually experimenting on real patient. Okay, so it's always like my humble request to all the innovators, to all the young entrepreneurs, that do not experiment on people's life. You can
mm,
experiment, you can lose money, that's fine, you will be able to make money tomorrow. But if you experiment on a real human life to bring about your innovation, and touch wood, but if that person loses the life, which I've seen it not only once but multiple times, okay, it's like a no go, then there is no point of like saying that we improve patient outcomes. Okay, because
mm,
you really have to be thought through. You have to always be very careful when you're touching that individual, because their family is also linked with it.
mm,
So
mm.
experiment on 3D, experiment on simulations, experiment on like AI driven labs, okay, to see what those outcomes can be, and then go to the real life
Mm.
settings.
I, one thing that I'll comment over here, all of your answers are so full of empathy. This is one thing that, every healthcare personnel should have. Like, this is like the first quality that we should have. And it's just, it makes me really happy to have such an empathetic conversation, because while we talk about tech and while we talk about, the progression of digitization into healthcare space, oftentimes we tend to forget, the patient side of it or the empathetic side of it. And yeah, so that's why this conversation is, this was a really good insight. So just like my last question to you, you've been a
Sure.
biomedical informaticist for almost a decade now. So what, like, I have very little knowledge about it as a career option. So for current students who are looking to make a mark into the healthcare space, could you enlighten us a little about biomedical informatics as a career option?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Wow, from startup to education. Okay, cool. And I would
Yeah.
say that uh, after like completing your 12th, you have various options to pursue. You can go into engineering, you can go into medicine. Uh, a discipline like biomedical informatics or bioinformatics, which was my undergrad, is essentially where you are bridging the gap between a software engineer who wants to build something really cool application and to a doctor who really wants to use that application to their patient population. Okay, so the very important role of your is to understand the nuances between what a doctor is trying to convey and what a software engineer or a biomedical or an mechanical or instrumentation engineer who like actually codifies and makes the devices is able to comprehend. Okay.
Hmm.
So, and a doctor says, I want to have an apple. But if a software developer understands, okay, a doctor wants an orange, and guess what? Once the
Yeah.
product comes out, doctor says, no, I will not use it. And that is where a
Hmm.
lot of innovation also fails because, you are not able to comprehend and also communicate in a proper way. So the training, I would say the academic training, what we received is more on the development side, which is we took courses like Java, C Sharp and all.
Hmm.
That was more on the programming side. We took classes on data analytics sides, such as like Python. SAS is a SaaS software similar to
Hmm.
R is a scripting language. So that is on that. Then we had like courses such as like clinical decision support, where how we can provide support to the doctors. So that was another classes. And then the practical training, what we received at various clinics while going through this program. So
Hmm.
by doing this, what happened is that we were able to truly grasp, okay, that this is what the doctors want, and this is how we can facilitate the development towards that. Okay. So by nurturing and by us learning about this, I did like my 4 years in bioinformatics, which is more on the fundamental science. Okay, in terms of genes,
Hmm.
sequencing and all. And then about 6 years in biomedical informatics, where we understood more about, the application side of it. Okay, that how this innovation or the research which is taking place out in the lab setting in the research centers, which usually takes years to like materialize and
Hmm.
then commercialize and then actually reaching the patient. And guess what? By that time the patient passes away. So you really have to bring whatever you want to do as quickly as to the bedside. So from bench, that is
Hmm.
the place where you work, to bed, BED, which
Hmm.
is the where the patient is, and how you can
Hmm.
reduce this time frame so that your innovations are truly applicable and implementable. So that is also very important learnings which we got during this practical academic courses, which I took and I was a part of. Okay. So in nutshell,
Hmm.
it's a very good career option. From that, I was part of Mayo Clinic. I worked at primary healthcare centers. I launched and grew my startup where we learned about the management, and now I'm working for the very large group here in India, which is Adani Group, where we are, kind of going through each and every uh, side of the equation where we are learning on how to take the paper based employee records and completely digitizing it. So that
Hmm.
is also an important thing what we really understood, and we are applying our principles for that. So
Hmm.
it's a very lucrative career option. It is very specific and specialized. And the very foremost thing is you need to love biology, mathematics, analytics, as well as kind of bridging this silos which are there. A software engineer, a doctor, and you become the middleman and trying to bring them together to speak with each other. So that's in a nutshell. Happy to discuss more down the road.
Amazing, amazing. So people who are watching this, if you want to have a career in healthcare, so biomedical informatics is a really good career option. And it also does something. So I was attending this Smart Pharma, you know, it happened like 2-3 weeks ago, and it was a conference where a lot of different conglomerates like in healthcare, they came together, and their people were talking, and they said that IT is going to be the future of healthcare. So the entire sector will kind of shift towards using a lot of IT solutions, and that is where I feel that if you have an expertise in both the fields, like not like an expertise in both the fields, but you have a grasp of both the fields, then you can fare very well in your future. That's what I believe. So it's upon you. Is it true or false?
Yeah, it is very important. It doesn't matter what career you are looking at, but technology is going to drive the future in any discipline. So if you become a
Absolutely.
technocrat, have a strong fundamental understanding how any piece of technology, be it a software, be it a hardware based IT, or be it a platform based solution, and you really understand that, then you can apply to any discipline, not necessarily
Mm,
like healthcare, but you can also go into like the, segments of healthcare, such as like pharma, diagnostics, delivery providers like
mm,
hospitals, you can go into the insurance, which is also becoming a very big market here in India. Correct. So those
mm.
are healthcare. Then you can go into the financial industry. You can go into the automotive industries, and it's limitless.
Yeah.
Choose what you do and become a specialist, not a generalist.
This is an amazing way to have a conclusion for the conversation. Thank you so much once again, Ether, for being here with us, for sparing a little bit of time out of your so busy schedule. We are so grateful for like just you giving your time and your experience, and all those good thoughts that you shared with us today.